This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Tuscaloosa, Internet world. West Alabama, how are we doing today on a Thursday? Happy Thursday. It's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. And we're going to have a lot of fun today talking about Alabama's victory over Ole Miss, 93-74. We are not in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios today, but we are proudly presented by Derek Daniel. You can call him for all of your insurance needs at 205-758-3391. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel is there. We appreciate him sponsoring the program, and we appreciate Purple Turtle Roofing for sponsoring the program as well. Call Purple Turtle Roofing at 877-787-6635 or visit them online today at roofturtle.com. We're going to have a lot of fun today talking about Alabama basketball's win last night. We're going to talk about Richard Owens, Alabama's newest tight ends coach, and a whole lot more right here on the Joe Gaither Show this morning on the Bama Central YouTube channel, right here on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, you can find the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. We're here with Theo Fernandez, and we want to encourage you to send him some good luck and some well wishes on his social media machine at Joe Gaither, at Theo Fernandez _, as he's going through the sniffles a little bit yesterday and today. But he's here, being a trooper and being a great teammate this morning. Good morning, Theo. How you doing?
Good morning, Joe. Yeah, just phenomenal timing on this, happening one day before the start of baseball season here. Couldn't have asked for that to come to work itself out any better, but we're powering through. We'll be talking with Rob Vaughn and the players later, and I'm excited for everything that's coming this weekend. Hopefully feeling a little better by then.
There you go. I'm sure you will be. And so everybody send your well wishes and thoughts and prayers to Theo Fernandez as he overcomes the sniffles and gets into baseball season. We're going to delay our baseball preview just by a day to give Theo a little bit more time to sleep it off and take some more notes and be fully powered up tomorrow. What we are going to do, as we said, we're talking about the basketball game. We're going to talk about Richard Owens. Alabama hires a new tight ends coach who has offensive line experience. So great to be married in with that, and a new tight ends coach who has experience with two members on the Alabama coaching staff already, Kane Womack and Brian Ellis. So this is not a total stranger to the coaching staff. So we'll talk about that today, and if we need any more time, we'll move into Mel Kiper's 10 Alabama players named in his 2026 NFL draft rankings. So that's going to be the plan for the day. We invite you to jump in and join us on the comments section at Joe Gaither6, at Theo Fernandez _, at the Bama Central on the YouTube channel, or you can leave us a voicemail at 205-462-7340 extension 800. With all that, let's roll right into basketball as Alabama defeated Ole Miss 93-74. It's two in a row that Theo has been all over. I said it was going to be closer. He said it was going to be comfortable. Again, same thing in Auburn. He said that they were going to win kind of a tougher game. So he has been all over the last two games for the Crimson Tide. Latrell Wrightsell, 21 points, 7 of 13 from beyond the arc. You had LeBaron Philon with 18, Aiden Terrell with 15, Amari Allen. Is this good, Theo? Amari Allen, 13 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Is that good? What were your biggest takeaways from the game last night?
Yeah, that's the exact kind of performance that if you can get that from Amari Allen regularly, you're happy, right? Like, it's been nice seeing him have some of these higher scoring outputs, but it's really not something this team necessarily needs. What they do need is him to go out and get those really tough rebounds, get those stocks, and that was, if we can get that kind of performance out of Allen regularly, very happy with it. I will say this was just about the weirdest 90-point game we're going to see out of Alabama, right? And it's 2 straight games where Alabama's offense just starts out pretty horrendously, right? You had 14 points at the 10-minute mark against Auburn. You had, I believe, 30 points at the half in this game.
32
points at the half. Yeah, like it is. Man, this offense has done a really nice job at turning it on in the second half of games lately, and it's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, Alabama 5 of 23 from beyond the arc in the first half, and we didn't travel to the game, so Hunter and I were he was cooking his dinner, watching the game, and I was waiting my turn in the kitchen, and we're watching it, and it is player after player after player just bricking three pointer bricking. I mean, LeBaron was 1 of 3 in the first half. Aiden Holloway 0 of 2. Amari Allen 2 of 4. London Jemison, Aiden Sherrill, Jaleel Bethea, all 0 of 1. Latrell was 1 of 3. You had Taylor Bowen, who was 0 of 3. And Houston Millett, 1 of 5 in the first half. And I was just thinking to myself, this is one, atrocious. 2, can we get to the rim? And 3, wow, we're still in the game at 32-30. You were down in the first half and then kind of dug back into it and took the lead at halftime. So you're still right there in the game at 32-30. For as bad as it was, obviously Ole Miss was not very good either. Ole Miss in the first half shooting 12 of 33 from the field. They were 4 of 10 from beyond the arc as well. So they had a bad they had a bad 3-point percentage as well. Well, not as bad, 40%. Alabama at 22% in the first half. So really bad from deep. And I was pretty concerned. And then they totally flipped it on its head in the second half. Alabama was 12 of 22, going 55% from beyond the arc and really blowing their doors off, scoring 61 second half points to end up winning 93-74. So really a tale of two halves shooting wise. But Theo, what I want to talk about and what I want to get into is the effectiveness or really Nate Oates' pivot without Charles Bediako. He ends up playing 4 guards and Aiden Sherrill, and then ended up throwing Taylor Bowen in there as kind of a pseudo 5-man last night, and still went really, really small. Now Ole Miss's lineup kind of helped you do that because they weren't playing, they didn't have 7-footers on the floor, but just get your thoughts and get your opinions on the pivot from, okay, you don't have Charles Bediako. We need to go back to a small ball lineup. We're not playing Noah Williamson that much. Noah Williamson ended up with 3 minutes in the game. Ended up with 3 minutes in the game. Didn't he have a rebound? Hold on. Let me click. That's 3 minutes and a half. 3 minutes and a half, excuse me. 5 overall. I had it still set on second half. Ended up with 1 steal. Right, great. 1 steal, and Coach Oates complimented a screen he set to get a shooter open. So not really trying to play Noah Williamson that much, and really going from the 1 big 4 guards to basically 5 guards on the floor with Taylor Bowen.
Man, that was exactly what the offense should look like, generally speaking, down the stretch of the season. Something we talked about yesterday, like, how about Alabama? Like, you go out in the first half, you shoot 5 of 23 from beyond the arc. You take another 22 attempts in the second half. Like, you got to just – there are going to be games where this team is going to go out there and shoot horrendously and keep shooting, and either they're going to start falling or they won't. And today they started falling and you win the game, but I was also very impressed by what I saw from Sherrill overall on the offensive end of the court, right? I mean, I thought as far as providing spacing inside, excellent job. I mean, highest plus minus on the team by a lot at 23. Obviously, that's a pretty flawed stat, but it shows the effect he had on this game, right? He's going to come up with more than 2 blocks most nights. You were going up against a bunch of really good bigs, and for the most part, I thought you held your own okay defensively. I really loved what I saw out of Aiden Sherrill in this one. I think, and like offensively, you're okay with Houston Millett going 1 of 8 from beyond the arc. You're okay with Wrightsell taking 13 attempts, right? You're okay with, I mean, a lot of these guys had not the best shooting nights, right? You're even okay with Bull Bowen going out and taking 4 threes, and somebody's going to be on. Somebody's going to be hitting them more nights than not. So you took, I believe, 45 out of your 66 field goal attempts were 3-pointers. That's 68% of your shots coming from beyond the arc. That is just, that's unreal for a basketball team, and that is what we should expect out of this team most nights.
Yeah, and really, Alabama got going after Aiden Terrell had a 7-point spurt, really, in the to open the second half. He ends up setting the screen and rolling to the rim and catching and getting a layup, really kind of uncoordinated looking, but getting to the rim and making the layup. Next possession down, he bangs a 3-pointer, so you're up to 5 points, and then 2 possessions later, he gets fouled and makes both his free throws. 7-point spurt in the first little stretch of the second half. And so 7 of his 15 coming right there. And I think that sparked Alabama as a whole, because if you get just something out of the center position offensively, it makes it more dangerous, and it makes you have to respect the spacing, and it makes you have to respect the roll threat and the lob threat that we've talked about the last couple of weeks with Charles Bediako. Now, that really wasn't there as much with Aiden Terrell last night. I think he is capable of that, but he sets a pick right around the arc and then rolls to the rim, and whoever it was found him on the roll and ended up making a layup. And I think that really got him going, because it was in traffic a little bit, and I think it really got the entire Alabama offense going, because that's been the big question mark for this team is, what are you getting out of the post? What are you getting out of the front court? Are you getting anything? Oh, we're going to get a G Leaguer because you haven't gotten anything yet. And so, like, please, you need something. And we've seen Sherelle make a couple of threes here and there, and made a 3 last night. I think that's part of his game. But I think Sherelle really can take a step forward and give this team something in his rolling, catching on the roll to the rim and finishing at the rim. I texted you last night. He looks like somebody who's trying to figure out the triple jump for the first time. You ever seen the triple jump in track and field?
Yeah.
My dad's a high school track and field coach. It's a hop, skip, and a jump is basically all we always say. It's not that hard. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump. But that's how he looks rolling to the rim, just kind of hop, skipping, and a jumping, a little uncoordinated. Like, he does have the size and length to make it in a couple of steps or make it there without really putting the ball on the floor. It just seemed natural for him to keep the ball high and to take these big steps and to stride to the rim and finish. He just has this. He just has this. It just seems like he has this penchant of, oh, I've got to dribble. I've got to put the ball on the floor and take some dribbles. But no, if he just trusts himself and do it, I think he could be a good roller on the pick and roll.
Yeah, why isn't I don't know if Charles is still allowed to practice with the team, but I'm locking him in a room with Aiden Terrell, and neither of them are leaving that room until Aiden Terrell's learned everything he needs to know there. I think there is certainly, like you said, so much room for improvement there. And it is an improvement that we could legitimately see this season.
So Alabama gets it done over there, beating Ole Miss 93-74, and has extended their SEC winning streak, their current winning streak, to 3 games. The Crimson Tide, I think when I saw last night, is now in 6th place. Is that right? Let me pull up the SEC standings. Yes, the SEC, they're tied for 5th, are they not? Well, we don't want football, Joe. We want basketball. We're playing basketball. We want basketball. Alabama is 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, tied for 5th. Tied for 5th after Texas A&M. Dang, I guess Missouri came back and bit them. So tied for. They're in a huge They're in a huge tie for 5th with Tennessee, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Missouri, and A&M all tied for the 4th seed. Excuse me, tied for the 4th seed. But Alabama is 5th right now because they're behind Tennessee on the tiebreaker. So you're sitting right there pretty good with to get one of these top 4 seeds. Alabama taking on South Carolina on Saturday. South Carolina at 16-15 and 14th in the league. 2-9 overall in league play this year, 11-13. So the road a little easier this Saturday as Alabama tries to adjust to life without Charles Bediako. Theo, I don't want to waste your time or keep going on this basketball content unless you have more from this game or bigger takeaways from this game. Anything else stand out to you in Alabama's win over Ole Miss?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, right? Ole Miss is not a good basketball team, first of all.
Right.
And there were flaws from this performance, and there were flaws that would have been exposed and that you would have been paying for much more against good basketball teams. And that's why it's so fortunate that Alabama gets this stretch of not playing good basketball teams. Top 4 is a necessity in every way, shape, and form for this team. There is no excuse for falling short of that 4 seed. So we'll see how that unfolds. Saturday should be nothing short of a decimation of the Gamecocks, but who knows? Maybe this team finds a way to provide us a letdown.
Hopefully not. I think that I don't know. It seemed like there was some confidence. It seemed like second half confidence built. Kind of seemed like first half there was some uneasiness, some shakiness, some how are we going to play without Charles Bediako? How are we going to play without depth in the front court? And it's kind of seemed unsure of themselves. I'm not to say that the shooting was reflective of a lack of confidence, because they shot 22 threes, but just weren't going in. So they kept letting it fly. I felt like it was kind of a, hey, how are we going to move forward? And then Sherelle gives you that 7 points to kind of open the second half. And they said, oh, we're all going to move forward just fine. And Latrell is going to end up having a really solid game. 7 3-pointers is really nice. 7 for 13. I will let you take 13 3-point shots if you make 7 every single time you go out there. So I thought it was a good performance. And I think it was a performance that gave me a little more confidence in this team than I had previously, because I was kind of in the shaky zone with this team if they didn't have Charles Bediako.
I agree. I guess my final note on this game, me and Katie and Nato, it's all brought up, oh, Ole Miss has been on the road for so long, these fans. Dude, that fan base is horrible. That was rough, man. That was an empty arena.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I wasn't locked into that aspect. There was a bad crowd.
Some people do, in fact, have it worse than a half-empty student section at Coleman Coliseum. So, worth remembering.
Stat Broadcast has the attendance last night at 8,148.
Yeah, the crowd really felt like minimal, if any, impact on this game. So, although I will say the broadcast audio was rough.
The broadcasts lately have not been good.
They have not been.
Obviously, I've got recency bias with the Iron Bowl with the announcers. Essentially, Houston Mullet, LeBaron Fallon, just weird. Like, do a little bit of prep work for your game here. Just very strange to me. The last handful of basketball broadcasts. My man Cam Metzger. I'm going to reply to him late last night. He texted me. He was messaging me that the pundit, the guys at the desk were doing the phylon at halftime. So it's catching on there for LeBaron.
You taking all the credit for that?
No, because I'm pretty sure when he committed, there was the Dave Chappelle gif, and I said, "Oh, well, I'm just going to run with that."
So you did not create this?
I'm 95% sure I did not create this. I'm 95% sure I just saw it from some tweeter somewhere, and I thought, "Oh, that's clever. I'm definitely, adopting that."
There we go. Good to know. May as well claim it as your own at this point. I think you've got enough legs to do that.
All right, good. Well, then it is mine. I did invent it. I was the random tweeter. It was my burner account.
Own up to it.
There we go. I don't have it. I don't have any burner accounts on the internet. So let's move forward here. We're hanging out with Theo Fernandez. He's powering through the sniffles as, it's just part of the season. And we hope you're all staying healthy in your own worlds and own lives. We definitely hope that for all of our listeners and viewers. Let's move forward into a football topic as Alabama made a hire yesterday. Alabama hired Richard Owens to be its new tight ends coach. And maybe this is something that went under the radar for everyone or just has been forgotten. But yeah, you lost Nick Sheridan, quarterbacks coach to Michigan State to be an offensive coordinator. So Nick Sheridan moved on. He took a raise, and he's going to run his own offense up in East Lansing. And good luck to him. So Kayla DeBoer pivots and promotes, or I guess is it a promotion, Theo? Moves Brian Ellis from tight end coach to quarterbacks coach. So you're still a position coach, but the position that you're coaching is much higher up on the hierarchy than tight ends coach. So Brian Ellis is now going to be Alabama's quarterbacks coach. And so that left the tight ends coach vacant. And so Alabama filled that by hiring Richard Owens. Richard Owens from Louisville. Richard Owens has been the offensive line coach with the Louisville Cardinals for the last 2 seasons. But he's got familiarity with Kane Womack and with Brian Ellis, coaching with Brian Ellis at Georgia Southern in 2022. Richard Owens was the offensive line coach and run game coordinator. I think that's important. Run game coordinator at Georgia Southern in 2022. Theo, type in Georgia Southern's stats for 2022. Let's find out how many rushing yards they did in 2022 as I continue to preview Richard Owens. Now, he's familiar with Kane Womack because he was the offensive line coach at South Alabama. And he's got time with Kane Womack, I believe, at Arkansas as well. Where is his overlap with Kane Womack? I believe it's at South Alabama, was it not? Yeah, it's at South Alabama, 2016 and 2017. Kane Womack was there as defensive coordinator and, as defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, and that's when Richard Owens was the offensive line coach for the Jaguars. So he's got familiarity with 2 coaches on staff. If you've never heard of Richard Owens, that's okay. He ended up playing at Louisville, tight end at Louisville. It went undrafted in the 2004 draft. Played for the Vikings, Rams, and Jets as an undrafted free agent from 2004 to 2009. Then got into coaching, graduate assistant at Arkansas, UAB tight ends coach at 2012, UAB offensive coordinator, straight to offensive coordinator at UAB in 2013 and wide receivers coach. And then, I guess, demoted back to a tight ends coach in 2014. Moved to South Alabama, tight ends coach, then offensive line coach, Louisville tight ends coach in 2018, back to UAB offensive line coach, Georgia Southern in 2022, as we said, and then back to Louisville in 2023 as the offensive line coach. So he's coached offensive line and tight ends. And to me, that is a very encouraging background for somebody who's trying to get this run game going and make these tight ends effective. Theo, what'd you find? How many yards did the Eagles rush for in 2022?
136 yards per game, 4.8 yards per carry. Team went 6-7 on the year, so no, nothing special. But
we'll take 138.
138. Their opponents averaged 230 per game for some context. Obviously, some bye games in there that inflated the numbers, but nothing that jumps out there, I'd say.
Well, I just said we'll take the 138 because you're basically at 105 or so this whole year, 95 this whole year. So, like, is that amazing? No, it's not. But it is better than what Alabama did this past season. I'm not sure I don't think that he's going to be given the title of run game coordinator. I think he's just going to be sitting there as the tight ends coach. And Alabama's tight ends room looks really, really juicy next year.
Yes.
A lot of talent. Danny Lewis Jr. coming back as a redshirt senior. Mr. Availability Report. You're bringing back Jackson Marco, Jay Lindsey, who is Mr. Play any position on the offense. Jay Ford is a transfer from Oklahoma State. And then you all know Caleb Edwards and Marshall Pritchett are going into their sophomore year. And then you're bringing in a pretty athletic tight end, Max Sutter, pretty highly rated tight end, and Max Sutter as a true freshman. So it looks like a pretty juicy room. Theo, your thoughts on Alabama hiring Richard Owens as its new tight ends coach?
Yeah, Joe. So my biggest, question off this hire is we've talked at length now about Alabama possibly bringing in a second O-line coach. Is it possible that this kind of satisfies that, where maybe you have now 1.5 offensive line coaches? Do you think that move was done intentionally to kind of fill that void on the team as well?
Well, Theo, that's exactly what my thought was when I saw it come through the wire late last night. Was they because the first they announced it right when the basketball game was ending. The report started to come out, and so I just glanced at the tweet. I just glanced at it and I thought, oh, there's their second offensive line coach because he was coaching offensive line at Louisville. I didn't read the tweets very clearly, so I immediately went right there. And then after the game subsided and I wrote my piece on Aiden Sherrill and finished my work, I went back and looked at it. Oh, he's not an offensive line coach. He's coaching tight ends. And then you look into his background, and it's tight ends, an offensive line coach, and a run game coordinator, an offensive coordinator, just at various different spots. And I had the same thought that you did. I said, oh, what if this is, hey, you're coaching tight ends, but when we talk about the run game, you're going to be really influential. I think that Adrian Clem might be the schematic, might be the technique and personal development, player development offensive line coach, and maybe this Richard Owens is going to help as far as overall scheme and overall strategy in the run game. I don't know for sure, Theo, but I definitely had that thought as well. Is this the second offensive line coach that we were teased, that we were kind of that were whispered about over the last couple of weeks? I think that's a strong conclusion. Now, if Alabama hires another offensive line coach, that'll tell us all. But if they don't, I think that Richard Owens is going to have a pretty big role in the run game as in this coming season.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that. I have nothing much to add on that one.
So Richard Owens becomes Alabama's newest assistant coach, and you don't really have any vacancies. I can't believe we really didn't address who's going to be the tight ends coach all off season, because for me it slipped under the radar. But Alabama shores up that position room, and we'll see if they hire a second offensive line coach or if Richard Owens is going to be pulling double duty. We're hanging out with Theo Fernandez, and let's go to one more topic for the day as we're battling through right there. Oh, sure. Yes. Before we get into the last two topics, we're going to tell you about our friends at Purple Turtle Roofing. At Purple Turtle Roofing, we're not just another contractor. We're your neighbor and your advocate when it comes to protecting your home or business. With years of hands-on experience, top-tier certification, and a commitment to excellence, we've built a reputation as Alabama's go-to roofing solution. We specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, emergency storm repairs, full-on roof replacement, insurance claim support, and more. You can check them out online today at roofturtle.com for all of your roofing needs. You can figure out how to set up an appointment right there. Or if you want to call them on the phone, you can at 877-787-6635. We appreciate Purple Turtle Roofing for sponsoring the program. Dustin Foley and his friends, Brax Garrison, and comes on and joins us, talks roofing, talks sports. They'll come out, give you a free roof inspection, and give you the peace of mind that you deserve in your home. So check them out online today at roofturtle.com. Yeah, Theo, what you just dropped in a good note. Let's talk about the athletic budgets that were put out yesterday, were reported yesterday. But first, let's go into Mel Kiper Jr. He's got his little mock draft where 10 Alabama players are put into his basically draft grades. I'm just going to read off these draft grades, and you let me know if you feel like anybody is underrated and react to them. Ty Simpson was his number 2 quarterback. Jeremy Bernard was his number 9 wide receiver. Josh Cuevas is the 7th fullback / 8th back in the draft. Caden Proctor, number 6 offensive tackle, according to Mel Kiper Jr. Jaden Roberts is just outside the top 10 offensive guards. Parker Brailsford, number 8 center. L.T. Overton, number 7 defensive end. He took Tim Keenan as the 10th best defensive tackle in the class, and he took Justin Jefferson as his number 10 linebacker, not Deontay Lawson. Deontay Lawson just outside of his top 10 linebackers. No mention of Jam Miller or Damani Jackson. No mention of, obviously, Nikhai Hill-Green. No mention of Cam Dewberry, Brody Dalton, Dre Washington, or Geno Vandermark. what's your thoughts or what are your reactions, just quick thoughts on Mel Kiper Jr.'s rankings of the Alabama players going into the NFL draft?
Yeah, Bernard is incredibly undervalued at 9. Just looking at the names above him, 3 guys above him from the conference: Concepcion, Branch, Brazel, and I'd I'd take Bernard over any of those guys. I just think that he is such a surefire NFL wide receiver too on a good football team. Like I struggle to see how Jeremy Bernard doesn't become a solid NFL player. I guess I hadn't realized that Cuevas was not being viewed as a tight end. I get, which I kind of get, but like, you don't think Cuevas can be a primary tight end too on a football team? I don't know. I feel like he is just, with the reliability he brings, right? I could see him finding a role there on an NFL roster.
Yeah, Josh Cuevas to me is a blend of CJ Dupree and Robbie Utes. He's not nearly as physical as Robbie Utes. I guess maybe. No, I don't see him as a primary tight end. I'll say that. I see him as a tight end 3, somebody who's going to be a special teamer, somebody who's going to have a niche role in the offense. And, I think he's going to have a fine 7-year career in the NFL, but there's no way I wouldn't be drafting him before round 5.
I'm somewhat that I accidentally turned off I'm somewhat surprised that Jefferson's above Lawson. I know Jefferson came in at that 10th spot. I don't know. Like I struggle to see Jefferson really hanging in the NFL when he's reliant purely off speed, and when you're now playing against players who are just so much faster than you were in college, right? He had that speed advantage on most snaps, right, with the Crimson Tide. You're still a fast football player in the NFL, but it's just that's all you're relying on, and the gap is so much smaller. So I'm not super high on either of those guys as NFL prospects, but I don't particularly see Jefferson getting himself much of a career. And I guess the other one that I feel strongly about is I do think Overton is maybe a little high at 7.
Yeah, I think that you nailed probably the interesting part of this is the fact that Nakai Hill-Green is not even mentioned. Deontay Lawson is outside the top 10, and Justin Jefferson is sitting there at 10. I also think Deontay Lawson is a better prospect than Justin Jefferson, but I would be unhappy if any of the 3 inside linebackers ended up on the Chicago Bears at the wrong price. I don't want them to be 4th-round draft picks, 5th-round draft picks for my Bears. Now, for those guys personally, I want them all drafted in the 1st round. I hope the best for all of those guys. But I think that this shows you the talent. I don't want to say lack thereof, but just the level of talent in the inside linebacker room this year. I mean, Deontay coming off a knee injury. There was a couple of moments where he was still considered a top end, 2nd, 3rd round draft pick, but now he's not even considered. And I mean, look, Mel Kiper's words are not the Bible. It doesn't mean that that's really the be all end all. He's just one evaluator, but one evaluator has him as not even a top 10 player at his position. I think that Alabama got the most out of their inside linebacker room that they could this season. But Justin Jefferson, you're undersized. Will you become, can we see Justin Jefferson move into basically the NFL's version of a Husky where you're playing, nickel linebacker, you're covering the pass and you're all over the place. I think that is a role for him, but you look at the defense and how I think Alabama's defense played pretty strong all year long, but it wasn't particularly talented as far as top-end talent. I mean, your top-end talent on the defense, you've got LT as the 7th best defensive end in the draft class, Tim Keenan as the 10th best defensive end, and Justin Jefferson as the 10th best linebacker. Outside of that, I mean, Damani, you were expecting a great season out of it. He had an okay year. Okay. You had, Deontay, I thought, had a good year considering his circumstances. And I think Justin Jefferson improved throughout the year and probably you would say had a good year. I would say Nakai Hill-Green had a good year as well, improved throughout the season.
Really came on at the end.
Yeah, but nobody really became. I mean, the only oohs and ahs types of players on this defense right now that you saw in 2025 was Bray Hubbard and Yanzi Pierre. Outside of that, Xavier Brown as well. Excuse me, Xavier Brown. So yeah, those three players really standing out as that's a high level, that's an elite type of player. Outside of that, like you were putting out a top 15 defense, a top 10 defense in the country with not elite talent. Talent for sure, but not the tip-top talent that, look at Ohio State. They've got 15 draft picks on that defense, kind of a level of talent. And so I'll be interested to see what happens with all three inside linebackers in this coming up April's draft. I'll be hopeful for all three of them to land in the right places where they have long careers and make lots of money, and it works out for all of them. Yes, but I just think it's evidence that you're the top level talent in Tuscaloosa over the last 2 years, really since Saban's departure, and a little bit before Saban's departure. I mean, shoot, I was about to say since Saban's departure, but before Saban's departure, I mean, obviously you had Will Anderson and Dallas Turner, but they're much more outside linebacker, edge rusher types. When was the last real rear end kicker at inside backer? I mean, it's been a long time since you had a real butt kicker at inside backer for Alabama. Reuben Foster was a long time ago. You had C.J. Mosley was a long, long time ago. Reuben Foster and Reggie Ragland, that's the name that was on the tip of my tongue, were a long, long time ago. And so it's been a long time since you had elite inside linebacker play in Tuscaloosa. I think that Mel Kiper Jr. kind of, without saying it, because that's not really his job, that's not really what he's trying to do, but as he evaluates the Alabama NFL talent, kind of lets you know that it wasn't really top end everywhere in 2025.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if you'd told me at the start of the season that Damani Jackson would not only not be a top 10 player at corner, but be left off of the just missed category. Like, he wasn't even named, right? Like, I don't think any of us saw that coming. The defense, a lot of the top end talent returning, and also has decreased. The one other thing that I found interesting, I guess, to wrap it up, was Jaden Roberts getting consideration. With how his season obviously went. He's one of my favorite players that I got to interview, man. He's just such a nice guy. And the level of happiness and joy that he had for his teammates and for the position he was in, like, that was incredible and very rare to see. And we know he has the strength, right? I hope he's able to find his way onto a roster.
I think he will end up being an NFL player. I think that Jaden Roberts was a bit of a victim of the schematic changes in the offense. I do think that in the right offense and in the right system, he can still be an effective player for an NFL team. And I think, size and strength wise, he's at least going to get a UDFA look. He might end up being a 5th, 6th, 7th round draft pick. Depends on how he test at the combine and how he does in the interviews. So we'll see how these guys go. The NFL draft is coming up soon, and you guys know I love the NFL draft, so we'll keep talking about that some more. Todd McShay, just one more little note. Todd McShay had Ty Simpson going in the first round in his most recent NFL draft to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll see if Ty Simpson can become a first-round draft pick and take off and make all that money and go win himself his own Super Bowl. And here's you a fun one. Will Ty Simpson, like Jalen Milroe, win a Super Bowl in his rookie year?
That's a crazy question to pose here. Hey, you go.
Hey, if he gets drafted by the Rams,
yeah, that is the. Man, if you gave him a year to learn under Stafford and get in that system, that's as good as it gets, man.
If you get drafted by the Rams, Ty, you've got a chance. If you get drafted by the Steelers or the Jets, sorry, buddy, you're out. At least for your rookie year. At least for your rookie year. I won't write him off or write his success off at all on this program. I just think that circumstances matter a lot in the NFL. Theo, I see you battling, so let's wrap this bad boy up. I know you are giving us your all this morning. I really appreciate it. Please find Theo Fernandez at Theo Fernandez _, and let him know you appreciate him waking up this morning with the cold and giving us his all. Let's go to the last topic, and you just put this note in that you wanted to talk about the athletic budgets that were released yesterday. And yeah, there they are right there. These are released and reported yesterday. Alabama Athletics reports a $33 million surplus for the 24-25 fiscal year. And so you go back up and you see them break it down. Here's Alabama sport by sport. Losses for 24-25 year. Alabama football made $65 million profit. Great. All right. Basketball made a $9 million profit. Great. Good job. Every other sport, every other program, every other entity in Tuscaloosa as it regards to athletics lost money. Now, you've seen this chart, so give it a pause, and we'll let the listeners guess in the pause. But guess real quick, what was the program that lost the most money? We'll give the listener 3, 2, 1. Y'all make your own guess. Theo Fernandez, you've already seen the chart. What program lost the most money in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, it was really close. Two programs within $200,000. Women's basketball loses the most, with baseball just right behind it. Man, that was surprising. $4.6 million lost by the women's basketball team. 4.4 for baseball. That's horrendous, man.
All right, before you keep going, you see it online every single time the women's basketball team loses.
Yeah.
Fire Christy Curry. Get rid of Christy Curry. Whatever. All right. I'm not going to dignify any more of those comments. But a lot of people outcry on the direction the women's basketball team is going. And okay, whatever. You're entitled to feel that way. Absolutely. If that's your passion, you're entitled to feel that way. But Theo, the program is already losing $4.6 million. And I think Christy Curry makes pennies as far as the salaries of women's college basketball coaches at high-level programs, at Power 4 programs. I think
Christy Curry makes about $700,000 a year.
Right. Okay, $700K. There's probably some bonuses in there to put her close to $1 million, but that's the point. You guys talk about, not you guys, there are some detractors that say, and that firing Christy Curry, we got to change it up. Greg Byrne doesn't care about the basketball. If you fired Christy Curry and you hired somebody, it's going to cost you a lot more than $700,000. It's going to cost you a lot more than $700K to get a Kim Mulkey type, to get a Gino Auriemma type. Now, Gino's never leaving UConn, so that's not a really good example. But to get a type like that, we're going to get an elite basketball coach. We're going to hire Dawn Staley, right? There was a time, can you believe it, Theo, that Dawn Staley was going to take the Alabama women's basketball
Every
job.
time I hear it, man, it blows me away.
Almost. But that didn't happen, and she ended up at South Carolina. But let's say, it doesn't matter. Pick your favorite elite women's basketball coach. Alabama's going to try to hire that person.
Yeah.
It's going to cost them a lot more than $700,000. And how much work is that coach going to have to do to start turning the program, not turning them around, because Christy's got in a good spot. They have made the tournament the last handful of years, and they're competing in the upper half of the SEC. Now, the very top 2 or 3 in the SEC is elite basketball teams, but she's in the upper half. She's in the 4 to 7 range of SEC. If you hire an elite basketball coach and you pay them $1.5 million or whatever it's going to cost them to get there, you're going to be deeper in the red in this sport. You're going to go to 5.6. You're going to go to $6 million in the hole. You're going to go deeper in the red for a year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be, until the fan base starts to really get a hold of it and start to come to the women's games, because we want to see a Kim Mulkey type on the sidelines, rant and rave on the sidelines, and we want to, it's going to take a long time before you dig out of the hole that is $4.6 million,
Yes.
right? And so you're not firing Christy Curry.
No.
Purely from a finance, because she has got the program to a point where you're making NCAA tournaments. All right, great. You are competing in the upper half of the SEC. Great. I think this 4.6, this negative 4.6, bottom line is honestly kind of a deal, kind of a bargain for what you're getting out of the basketball program. If you wanted to save money, you want to say, okay, you want to break even for women's basketball. Well, you want to break even, you got to hire a coach that's not making jack, right? You got to hire a coach that's not making anything. You've got to not really give any NIL. You've got to not give a good travel budget, travel expenses. You've got to not give the ladies, full access to the dining hall, this, that, and the other, like basically all the amenities that you give an Alabama athlete. And then you've got to be okay with basically being 15th in the SEC, 16th in the SEC.
Yeah.
And truly, we don't care about this sport. And now we can break even. So, like, this 4.6 that you're seeing in the hole for women's basketball, it is kind of a bargain to be competing in the upper half of the SEC, making tournaments every year, not really busting the bank. I mean, look, you got fortunate that one of the great Alabama quarterbacks had a daughter who was a great women's player. Sarah Ashley was a great player. And you got fortunate that Sarah Ashley was a great player and had connections to Alabama. I mean, Sarah Ashley was at Georgia to start off with.
And she was very close to going to Texas A&M too over Bama.
So it's like you're fortunate in these instances. And Essence Cody, good player. McDonald's All-American, good player. You're fortunate to get some of these players that you got. Ace Austin is an in-state player, and I think Christy is basically circled Tuscaloosa by a couple hundred miles and said, we got to get the good players in this area that won't cost us a ton of money. And I think Christy's done a good job with her program. That's my big point, or that's the reason why I went on this rant. I know it says minus $4.6 million, but I think that is kind of a bargain for what you're getting right now with the women's basketball program.
Yeah, Joe, I don't agree with that take really at all. I mean, first of all, you've brought in, I believe, 4 international players in the last 2 classes, right? Like, you're going outside. I struggle to see how it is worth a $4.6 million loss to get slightly above average women's basketball. And it's like, you just look at these programs, right? They will expand past it and all these, like, oh, we've got a nice gymnastics program. We've got however many, I forget how many national championships. They lost 2 million. Softball, hear so much about the Rhodes House, about just how, right, it's one of the best fan bases in the country. It's one of the most historic programs. Well, you lost 2.5 million. Even this baseball team that I get so excited to cover, and I can't wait for the season, and there's hype around it, and we go to Omaha. You lost over 4 million. And I want
Justin LeBron is expensive.
Justin LeBron is certainly expensive, and it's just Alabama is in a very fortunate position to be able to make $64 million on football, right? What are all these other schools doing? Like, what is happening at all of these programs that aren't blue bloods, that don't have this massive brand? Like, outside of the 20 biggest brands in the sport, how is anyone winning here? How are we supporting all of these D1 programs? How is UCLA realistically flying their teams across the country 40 times a year for various different sports, right? And having to get a flight to New Jersey every season. And like, this is so broken, man. This is
smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
But
it's just so unsustainable. The
accounting
SEC,
magic.
The SEC ADs voted 2 years ago to add women's rowing as a sport. You lost $3.3 million in your second year of existence. Like,
well, that program's been in existence for a while now. They were a Big 12 program.
They were Conference USA, I believe, for a minute too. But I guess in the SEC, right? So I guess my question is, like, I enjoy covering these smaller sports. I love going to a Christy Curry press conference. Katie covers gymnastics all the time, and I went out to swim and dive, right? Did a couple stories. It was fun. How is this sustainable at all? How is the NCAA possibly going to continue to support all of this? And it's a bubble, man. It is going to pop and it is going to blow up in a lot of people's faces. And just how is any mid-major possibly going to continue to support all of these D1 sports? Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Alabama has 2 above the Division I minimum as far as total sports. Most schools are at the bare minimum, right? Most schools are doing I forget what the number is on. I think it may be 9 men's, 10 women's. That might be the number. I could be wrong on that. I just don't see how this is possibly going to continue to exist in this form.
All right, Theo. So let me put you to the test. You're looking at the chart right here. Let me make you the Alabama athletic director. You're taking over Greg Byrne's job for a day, and you've got to save some money. You've got to find some cash in the budget. Now, Alabama, you ended up in a surplus. You had $33 million surplus, which is crazy. Thank you, football, right? Appreciate that. But let's say you needed to find some more money. The football team, Kalen DeBoer, he ends up at 7-5 this coming year. Not good. The football team, the fans don't come to Bryant-Denny Stadium as much anymore because all the Nick Saban fans have gone and found new fan bases. So you've got to save some money. What are the first program or programs that you're cutting? Now, remember, you've got to adhere to Title IX. So you keep the scholarships equal. You cut women's tennis, well, bye-bye men's tennis. You cut women's track and field, bye-bye men's track and field. So it's a two-edged sword. If you want to cut soccer, okay, that's not, it's okay, whatever. But you got to cut a men's sport to equal the soccer scholarships as well. So you're trying to say, like, will we see Greg Byrne in 3 years, in 4 years, end up saying, I'm sorry, but we can't fund these 3 sports, these 4 programs. They're gone. What do you think might happen? And if you were Greg Byrne, what are you looking to cut first?
Soccer is the easiest cut of all time, man. I'm sorry. We're in Alabama. You go to the College Cup. That was fun. I covered the team the year after. It was enjoyable. The program's a joke right now. The stuff I hear about those practices, about Wes Hart's coaching, I mean, you'll hear about girls showing up 45 minutes late to practice, and like they'll just, sit around and they don't do any drills. They don't practice set plays. They just kind of stretch and dance around. It's a joke. You lost so many of your best players to the portal this year. The program is dead. It is not going to really get you anywhere going forward. I mean, you made an NCAA tournament appearance. Cool. One of 64 schools to play, one of 32 schools to lose in the first round. Is that worth it at all? No, it's not. Soccer is an easy cut, and then you have to balance it with a men's sport. And I'm hesitant to say track and field, especially because, like, it doesn't make sense to cut the men's version of one and not the women's, right? It just doesn't really add up because then you're still paying for the facility anyway. You may as well at that point have both, like.
And track and field gives you international reach. I mean, look at all the athletes over the last decade that have, that's an Alabama track star, and it's growing every year.
I think I'd cut the swim programs. I think you'd have to get rid of the swim programs there, but it's like soccer's the easiest cut, right? What men's sport is going that's non-essential here that doesn't have a woman's counterpart? And there isn't an answer, right? Because your only men's sports, like, you got to think about how stripped down this already is. You got baseball, you got basketball. That's it.
Baseball,
football.
basketball, football.
Those are the
men's
only three men's sports that don't have a female counterpart right next to them.
Right.
So
And you're not
you
getting
look
rid
at
of
how
baseball
no,
because of the you bought you rebuilt the Joe like 10 years ago, and obviously you've invested in Rob Vaughn, and they're trying to get something out of that program. Really, you're definitely not cutting basketball at a $9 million surplus and how successful they've been. And football is like, get
yeah,
out of
let's
here,
cut football.
like get out of here. That's never going to happen. And so it becomes, well, do we just want to have a track and field facility for the women because we've cut soccer, or do you cut both track and field programs? Do you cut both swimming and diving programs? Do you cement in the pools? What do you do to keep the scholarships balanced? It becomes a really, really hard conversation.
It's tough. I think track is, even with a bigger loss of money, is a lot more essential than swim and dive, right? We do get some great, international athletes, right? So yeah, we have 9 men's team and 12 women's, and the limit is 9 and 11. So I believe the way it works is you could technically cut one of the women's sports, but then you have to add more scholarships to another one to make it even, right? So there's no real way to win. Volleyball is another program that I'm sorry we could do without.
Volleyball's an easy one.
Does not need to, have a team here.
Volleyball ended up going, where is it right there? A minus $2.2 million. Their revenue, they brought in $400,000 in revenue. They spent $2.6 million.
They had their best season of the decade this year. They won a whopping 14 games. That's an easy cut.
I got to be honest with you, Theo. I've been in Tuscaloosa since 2008. I've gone to school over there, graduated over there, covered all kinds of sporting events for a couple of different media outlets now. I have never seen Alabama volleyball in person.
Really? You've never been down to Foster?
I've been to Foster for basketball events, for women's and for men's events. I've seen soccer compete. I've done the crew, the rowing. I've been to a track meet. I've been to a lot of these, and so I've been to gymnastics a bunch of times. I've been to women's basketball a handful of times. Never in my life have I been to a college volleyball match.
You're not missing much. I
know. I'm just using that as a point. Like, what are we doing here?
No, it's such an unsustainable. And remember, we are one of the few programs in the country that can possibly support this that can. But still, you're turning your $64 million profit into a $32 million profit. You're losing half your money right there, supporting some of these sports that give you almost nothing in return. And I'm not trying to go anti-Title IX here. I'm not trying to say, we need to cut everything. But I am looking at this from the perspective of all of these other schools. How are they possibly going to keep this up?
Yeah, who knows about that? That's everyone else's problem. For Alabama, their problem is Kalen DeBoer, keep winning. Get us to another SEC title game. Get us to the playoffs so that you guys can fund everybody else's after-school programs.
Absolutely. Football bottoms out and the whole university crumbles, right? You hear about all these programs that are in so much debt. Alabama's lucky to not be in that position.
Yeah, that is exactly right. Well, Theo, I appreciate how much you battled today. I know that you're feeling like a cold. I hate that for you. I will be over at the Rob Vaughn press conference. I don't think I have a single question for the man, but I will film it for us at Bama Central for the Bama Central YouTube channel. So we'll have that later on today. We're going to have a lot of great content on the Bama Central homepage. You can find all kinds of stuff. I know Hunter DeCyver already has a post-game piece from last night's win over Ole Miss. We appreciate everybody who has watched the show today on the Bama Central YouTube channel, on the Bama Central Facebook page. Find Theo Fernandez and let him know that you're thinking about him and appreciative of his hard work today. And we will talk to you again tomorrow right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither 6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.